There is one trait that I've seen destroy careers, marriages, and definitely confidence. I'm going to say something today that might make you feel completely uncomfortable because I was there at one point in time. Because it made me completely uncomfortable the first time that I realized it. After spending more than 3 decades leading people, hiring hundreds of employees, after coaching staff, executives, business owners, after watching marriages completely fall apart right in front of me, after watching businesses grow, and after walking through some of the hardest seasons of my own life, and I've noticed something that people who lose everything rarely lose it because they aren't smart, right? They lose it because they lack talent. They don't lose it because they didn't work hard, right? It's not because you're lacking talent. It's not because you're not working hard. They lose it because of one trait. What do you think that one trait is? Trust me, it took me years to try to figure that out. A trait that quietly destroys your career, it destroys your confidence, your marriage, it destroys your, a leadership if you're a leader. And the scary part is most people think it's actually a strength. In today's conversation, I'm going to talk about completely changing the way you see yourself. That trait, what do you think that trait is? That trait is pride. It's not confidence. It's not healthy self belief. It is pride. And before you stop listening, because you're probably thinking, Nancy, I am not prideful. What are you talking about? That's exactly why this conversation matters, because pride rarely announces itself. It doesn't. It disguises itself. And sometimes it looks like perfectionism. Sometimes it looks like it's always needing to be right. Sometimes it looks like feeling completely confused. Sometimes it feels like it's never apologizing. Sometimes it looks like pretending everything is okay. Pride wears a lot of costumes, believe it or not. These costumes that we wear, masks that we wear. So let me talk a little bit about the career part. Over my career, I've led hundreds of people. I've watched incredible employees fail, not because they weren't talented, because they refused feedback. They take things personal, they don't want to hear it, and they feel that they failed because they don't want to hear the feedback. But that's how we grow. Every suggestion became criticized, right? Every correction became an attack. Every conversation became something they had to, defend themselves. But the saddest part is that they couldn't see it. And eventually, people stop coaching them. People start mentoring them. Any leader, you're constantly coaching and mentoring. You know that? I never thought that until I started to do my own coaching and got into this business. I just thought, okay, leaders, that's what you do. You are leading and managing, and you don't realize you're actually mentoring and coaching. And then people just stop giving up because they're not coachable. They stop trusting them, stop promoting them, not because they weren't capable, it's because they weren't teachable. What do you think is another secret sauce here? Is pride. And you have to be teachable. If you're not teachable, you're never going to be able to move forward. There is no ands, if, or buts. That is the reality. The greatest leaders I've ever met all have one thing in common. they are coachable, right? Those are the greatest leaders. They can take the criticism. They don't take things personal. They are coachable. What do you think the worst leaders are? Believe that they're already arrived, that they think that they're best, that they will not take any type of criticism or accountability. That's the difference. So let me talk a little bit about the marriage side of things. I have been married for 32 years. I've been with my husband for 39 years. That's a long time. He is 7 years older than I am. We have two beautiful children and two grandchildren. And let me tell you, it is the best to be a grandparent. Like, it is so different than raising your children. But marriage is really about communication, compromising, boundaries. So now let's talk a little bit about that marriage. I've watched couples spend years trying to win arguments. I've had family members try to win arguments. I've been around several of people that I've known, people that I have coached, is they constantly spend years trying to win an argument while losing each other in the scheme of things. How many times have you chosen being right instead of being connected and listening? Because pride says what? I've apologized when they do, right? Humility says, I value this relationship more than my ego. One sentence builds the walls, the other builds bridges. Does that make sense? That is the most important thing. Do you see how simple I just put it in a real short summary for you, not to overthink it? Having that open communication. Don't feel like you always have to win the argument or the disagreement. Put down your guard, sit and listen. You don't always have to respond to every little thing that's coming out of their mouths, because if you always want to win an argument, you feel like you have to get the last word. And then you're not even paying attention to your significant other about what is truly bothering you, or having a conversation about something. Maybe it's one of those bad days at work. Just sit and listen. You don't have to respond and say what you think you should tell them to do or what they should do, right? That's the difference. You're either going to build the walls or you're going to build the bridges so you can walk together and over the bridge together. So let's talk about the confidence. Here's where pride gets really, 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 really sneaky. It will just sneak up on us. Sometimes what looks like confidence for us is actually insecurity. People who constantly need validation need recognition. They need to prove that they're smartest person in the room. They need everyone to know what they've accomplished. That's often not confidence. You realize that, right? That is fear. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't have to be announced to everyone. It just needs to be announced to yourself. It doesn't have to be competitive. It doesn't have to win every darn conversation. It simply shows up, right? You don't have to be the person to be the loudest person, feel that you have to be the center of attention. No. Let me tell you a little bit about my own story, that I can be honest with you because I'm very transparent. There were seasons in my life where I had pride and I didn't even realize it. That's what I had mentioned earlier. I spent decades leading teams. I've built businesses. I've coached leaders. I've coached staff. I've had people come to me for answers for years. But not only for me to be like that library, for me to have all the answers for everything. They come to me, I want them to think for themselves, and then I will coach you through that so that they build their confidence in themselves, not coming to me for all the answers. And that's where, like I had said, I've had people come to me for answers over the years. But in return, I built that confidence in themselves to think before they come to me, because sometimes you just, oh, you know what, just go to Nancy or just go to your boss or whoever it is, they have the answer and you don't think for yourself. And there were moments where I believed that if I don't hold everything together, everything will fall apart. That's why they have to come to me for all the answers, because why? I controlled it. That wasn't leadership. And a lot of leaders get stuck in control, that they feel that they have to control everything. It has to be their way. And if they don't control it, it's not going to get done right. Not everyone thinks like you as a leader, but I will tell you that your staff needs to be an extension of you. It doesn't have to be just like you. That was the pride in disguise as responsibility for me. Then life really humbled me. When my husband was in a devastating motorcycle accident, everything changed overnight. 10 surgeries, years of recovery. Life suddenly became less about achievement for me and more about showing up. Around that same season, I experienced a loss of multiple close family members that I've lost. Those experiences have a way to really, really strip your ego. They remind you that control is an illusion, that strength isn't pretending you're okay. That strength is allowing yourself to receive help, and that is okay. Those seasons changed me, and they changed me for life. They made me softer, more compassionate, which I'm already soft and I'm very compassionate. But sometimes when you go through some struggles, the guard goes up. You're very short with people. You get angry very easy, right? And then it just started for me to become a better leader, a better coach, and honestly, a better human being for myself. So, what pride really costs us, it will cost you promotions. Pride will cost you friendships. Pride will cost you marriages and relationships. It will cost your business. Pride costs peace. Because pride keeps saying, I already know. You don't tell me, I know. And while the wisdom whispers to us and says, what can I learn? How can I learn from this challenge and this opportunity? The most successful people I've worked with were executives. They were CEOs. They were business owners. They were top producers. There were bosses that freaking made me cry and was so hard on me and the staff that I thought, oh my gosh. And I always go back and say, thank you. I'm so very grateful that I got chewed up and spit out because I learned from that. The people who continue growing all the way was just really made a difference in my life. They always asked questions. They always listened. They always made me make sure that I can answer my own questions. Good leaders, the CEOs admitted mistakes. They were seeking own coaches and mentors to help them. They're willing to change, right? They are teachable. Success doesn't belong to the smartest. You think that the smartest people, the wealthiest people are the smartest people? No, that is not true. It belongs to the most teachable are the ones that are extremely successful. So I have a few questions for you. I want you to sit with 3 questions. And the number one question is, when was the last time someone gave you feedback? And that you really truly listened. You didn't take it personal. Think about that. Number 2 is, where can you choose being right instead of growing? It's like, where am I? Like, tell yourself, where am I choosing being right instead of growing? You don't have to be right all the time, right? Where are you choosing to be right instead of growing? And number 3, if someone closest to you describes you, would they say that you're very teachable? Or are you very defensive and take things personal? Those answers that you keep to yourself might tell you more about your future than your own resume ever will. I want you to sit with that for a minute. One of my favorite quotes is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the teacher has been standing in front of us for years. We just weren't humble enough to listen. If today's episode challenged you, good, because I want it to. Growth usually begins with discomfort. And remember, humility doesn't make you smaller. It makes you stronger. It makes you wiser. It makes you someone people trust. The people who make the greatest impact in the world aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who never stop learning. As I always say, you have full control of the will. You can have and do anything you want. Always remember, your actions become the reality. Your teachable index, which means are you teachable, will become your future. It becomes your reality. It becomes who you are today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. I would love comments. I'm continuing to increase and raise my podcast. Keep becoming the person your future is waiting for. And always remember, I'm sending you much love and hugs. Nancy.